Hello, BookTube. Matthew at Mayberry Book Club made a tag about yours truly, and it went viral. It was a simple tag. He looked at books in his collection and said, "Has Steve read these? Has he read everything that I have?" And he picked a handful of books, 8 books, that he thought there was a chance I hadn't read. And he has since made an addendum video adding 2 more. The people have taken up the tag because it's so much fun to see. It doesn't necessarily have to be me. I think the reason why I'm a good stalking horse here is because I've read a freakish amount. I read a freakish amount, where the rest of you are raising families or having loved ones or going to school or having a job. I don't do any of that. All I do is read. And I have for a very long time. So it's sort of natural to use me, but really it could be anybody, right? When we visit each other's homes, the first thing we do is poke around on the bookshelves for stuff that we've never seen or that we've only heard about or that looks intriguing or that we might want to shoplift. That's what this tag is. That's what it's become, anyway. So many people have done this tag, some of them even joining BookTube to do it, in order to pull some books off their shelves and see not only whether or not I've read it, but what I think about it, if I have read it. And if you've watched these tags, somebody needs to make a playlist, because there's a lot of them now, and there's more to come, many more to come. But if you watch these videos the way I do, I have been finding so many interesting books because of these videos. And there's also been a bit of a kumite element to the whole thing, a bit of a Thunderdome element, because people can't help but notice how many books are chosen that I have not read, and that has become a coveted number. Matthew started things off with 2 books that I had not read out of the ones that he picks, and that number has gone up and down, but not very high. The winner and all-time champion, Hannah at Hannah's Books, had 4 books that I had not read. And ever since then, she has been complacent on her throne. Well, people wonder, will anyone manage to get the number higher than 4? And today we have a new entrant, a new contender has entered the ring. Alan Moreton. Some of you will recognize him as a frequent commentator, and he has made his own channel, and he has filled it with bookish delights. Just filled it with bookish talk, out of the way titles, and also he has a sweet tooth for something that I just love, which is regular features, where he does a regular feature, or several of them, on his channel, and just builds on that. Talk about perfect fodder for a playlist. And he decided to enter the ring with the Has Steve Read It tag. So this is the Alan Moreton edition. And he did it as usual in most of his videos. He's incredibly creative. And he did this in a creative way. He decided to pair each of his suggestions with a book he knows I have read, or else is fairly certain that I have read. So he picked a book that isn't one of his picks, something that he's sure or relatively sure that I've read, and picked something adjacent to it that he thinks that he wonders if maybe I haven't read. That's just fantastic. And the first book that he picked, that he's fairly certain that I've read, is Boswell's Life of Johnson, which of course I have read many times. I love it with a passion. I absolutely love it with a passion. And the book that he put on his list, that he suggested, was Boswell's Column, which is a collection of the magazine columns that he wrote for London Magazine, that Boswell wrote under a pseudonym. And it's a yes, because I love The Life of Johnson so much, and because I love Boswell's London Journal so much. I have read pretty much everything that this author has written that was meant to be read. I haven't read his law decisions or anything like that, but I've read, there's a vast Boswell publishing industry, and I have read pretty much everything in that. There's not much to recommend Boswell's Column. There's not much to recommend any collection of it, no matter how energetic an annotation of such things is. The columns are kind of drivel. I mean, they're really only for Boswellian completists, which I guess I kind of am in a way, but they weren't in any way as entertaining as some of the other Boswell volumes that the Boswell industry has put out. Then the next one, Alan is fairly certain that I have read The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich by William Shirer, and I have many times. I absolutely love it. I think it's an enduring work of history. And his question is, have I read Love and Hatred by William Shirer, which is his book about the Tolstoys. about Count Tolstoy and his extremely unfortunate wife. And I have, and it's for the same reason, because I loved The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich so much that I went and read pretty much everything that this author's written, all of his diaries and a lot of his other books, hoping to recapture what I think is the incredible, raging brilliance of the decline and fall, of the rise and fall of the Third Reich. I've never, I admit, actually found that. I'm not sure that he ever hit that precise tone of controlled rage in any other book. But I liked it. I mean, I liked his book on the Tolstoys. Then the third one, Alan Moreton suggests that he's pretty sure that I've read Ulysses by James Joyce. I have. And he's also pretty sure that I've read Ellmann's biography of Joyce. And I have. It's a standard work of biography. And his question is, have I read John Stanislaus Joyce by John Wyse Jackson and Peter Costello, which apparently is a full-length biography of Joyce's father? And I have not. I have not read this book. I might have read everything that James Joyce has written, but I'm not a glutton for punishment. I am not, for instance, in the same position here as I would be with Boswell. Most of Joyceana I find unbearable. So that's a no. Then his next one is he's fairly certain that I've read George MacDonald Fraser's Flashman books, and I have. I've read them all many times. I absolutely love them. And he's wondering if I've read The Pyrates by George MacDonald Fraser, which is a sort of not only a body historical novel, but also a send-up of body historical novels. I have. I think it's absolutely brilliant. In fact, if you want to download a sample online, or if you want to find it in your bookstore, if there's an edition that's currently in print, you'll get a good flavor for what Fraser does in The Pyrates if you read just the absolutely bravura first paragraph of the book. The first paragraph is astonishing as a comic creation, and if it floats your boat, you've got a lot more of that to go in the book. But he sets the tone of the thing right at the beginning. So I strongly recommend The Pyrates. Then Alan Moreton suggests that I have read Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, and that I've also read James Tully's book on Jack the Ripper. And I have. I've read both of those. I've read everything by the Brontes many, many times, and I also am a Ripper fan. I'm a Jack the Ripper fan, so I've read a vast library of stuff on Jack the Ripper. And his suggestion is, have I read The Crimes of Charlotte Bronte by James Tully? And I have. It was fascinating. I thought it was I didn't think this author had such a book in him, and I was happy with it. So it also forms a recommendation of a kind. Then the next one is Alan Moreton suggests that I have probably read Sir Donald Walford by Ronald Harwood, but he wonders if I've read Cesar and Augusta by Ronald Harwood, and he's giving me too much credit. I haven't read either one of these things. Sir Donald Walford, no, absolutely not, and not the other book either. This is a resounding no. It's a very, I suspect, it's one of two very British picks on this list. I don't know that Ronald Harwood has been published much, if at all, in the United States. So I've just plain missed these books. So no, that's a no. Then the next one, he suggests that I have probably read E.V. Lucas's biography of Charles Lamb, and I have. It's a bit creaky, but it's a classic, and some of its appreciations. I mean, when you do older biographies, 2-volume, 3-volume, big multi-volume, old-style biographies, some of the period research might be a little fuzzy or blunted by modern understandings, or even by documents that have been uncovered. What I tend to look for in those books is their appreciation of the writer's work, and it's really good in this book. The Lucas Lamb book is worth finding, and he wonders if I have read Mr. Ingleside by E.V. Lewis, and I have, even though it is extremely British, because I really like E.V. Lucas. I really do. So a copy of mine, as he correctly predicts, found its way to me through the Brattle Bookshop here in Boston, which is a used bookstore that gets pretty much everything. Pretty much. I can count on the fingers of one hand the number of things that I have been waiting a long time for that don't show up at the Brattle. Like, for instance, Andrew Roberts' book, Napoleon the Great, had a UK edition that was just a big white hardcover with a white dust jacket with fleur-de-lis all over it, and it was called Napoleon the Great. When it came out in America, it was called Napoleon: A Life and had a boring cover. And I don't want that. I haven't kept it, even though it's a Napoleon book I want to keep, because I'm assuming that sooner or later the Brattle will get that UK hardcover, and I'm just waiting on it. But Mr. Ingleside, yes, but only through that. Then the next book that Alan Moreton suggests that I have maybe read is The Fall and Rise of Reginald Perrin. And he's wondering if I've read The Cucumber Man by David Nobbs. And once again, it's a complete miss. I haven't read either one of these things. I don't think I've even seen them. So, no, it's a complete miss. And then the next one, he assumes that I have read the novels Stark and Gridlock by Ben Elton. But he wonders if I've read Inconceivable by Ben Elton. And again, it's a complete no. I haven't read anything by this author. As far as I know, I haven't read anything by this author. Certainly haven't read these books. And then the last one is Alan Moreton assumes that I have read the poetry of Byron and Shelley. I have. They start with Byron and Shelley, then jump on your belly and bust your balloons. I have read everything by Byron and Shelley, the poems, the drafts, the letters, the journal entries, everything. But he wonders if I've read Recollections of the Last Days of Shelley and Byron by Edward Trelawney. And we had to wait all this way to get to it, I think. But we get here, the final one, something that has turned up on every one of these Has Steve Read It tags. On every one of them. There is something. There is at least one entry where my reaction isn't only, yes, I've read that, but also, what on earth was the person thinking to think there's any chance that I hadn't read it? And Trelawney is a loathsome figure. He's a loathsome hanger-on and a bragging, conceited liar. But nevertheless, his account is irreplaceable. It's invaluable as a contemporary eyewitness account of so much of Byron and Shelley's doings and sayings. And maybe Alan Moreton probably doesn't watch all of my videos. He's got better things to do, I would imagine. If you've watched thousands of these videos, then you will know that Shelley, yes, kind of, sort of, sure, whatever floats your boat. But Byron, all things Byron at all times. So of course I've read Trelawney. But anyway, that is the Alan Moreton version of this tag. And if you were keeping track at home, you know that we are now in a world of trouble. All of a sudden, the gods are unhappy because Alan Moreton's total is 4. Somehow, in poking fun at all of you and being poked at in return, it never occurred to me that we might have a tie for Ruler of the Universe, and now we do. Hannah at Hannah's Books' score was 4. Alan Moreton's score is 4. We now have a tie for the winner. And they're just going to battle it out on the horizon for all eternity. Gandalf versus the Balrog until we settle this. Until somebody gets 5. So somebody needs to step up and get 5 for there to be peace in BookTube again. So there you have it. We now have a tie for the winner. So I will link to Hannah's video, and in all future videos I will link to both of their videos. And we will see who will do what tomorrow. Is it possible that the number will finally go up to 5 and both of these people will be cast into the lower depths? Tune in and we'll find out. Thank you, BookTube.